Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing? We're back. There is no bank holiday today, at least if there is, I wasn't told about it. So we're back to our normal schedule again. I feel like I'm saying that a lot between bank holidays and school holidays and who knows what else. It's been a bit disrupted the last couple of months, but I'm trying my best to maintain as best I can a degree of predictability and normalcy or something about all of this. But yes, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. It is, it's quite nice today. It's not as nice as it was over the weekend, but it is still very much shorts weather. I'm very pleased that the grey, wet, and miserable days that we've had of late seem to have passed. Touch wood. But yeah, it was an absolutely lovely weekend. Definitely good to get some vitamin D, which is what we did. Can't for the life of me remember what we did on Saturday. But yesterday, on Sunday, we went out. There is a place we've not been to for a little while, but there is somewhere not too far from here, which essentially is it's a farm / play area place. Good afternoon, Radiant Leaf. I hope we're doing okay. So it's a bit of a play area, farm as well, which is quite nice. So we've been there once, twice before. I can't remember now. But the little one absolutely loves it. So she gets a chance to run around in the sunshine, go on slides and stuff like that. She got to pet animals, which is always good. She was fascinated by feeding rabbits. She tried to feed a llama. The llama wasn't having it. But she got to pet various things. She got to handle a couple of ferrets, which was very, very cute. I had to then convince my wife that no, we don't need to get a pet ferret. I mean, ferrets are adorable. I'm not going to deny that, but I don't think we're in the place yet for getting another pet anytime soon. One, emotionally, but also I'm not saying this is a good thing, because definitely not. But not having litter trays right now has made things like cleaning and stuff like that a lot easier. But yeah, so I don't think we're in a place we can get another pet yet. But ferrets are freaking cute. They really are. But I imagine that they are. I don't know if it's a personality thing, but they seem kind of sneakier and quicker than cats. So I imagine, if a cat decides it's going to bolt in the house and hide somewhere, you can find it after a little while. I imagine if a ferret bolts in the house and decides it's going to hide somewhere, you are not going to find that ferret until it wants to come out. So there we go. Which is better than the alternative. My wife was throwing around an idea of getting a pet skunk. Now, I'm not going to deny that they are very, very cute. I have seen videos. They are very, very cute. But, and this is a big but, they're skunks. It is illegal in the UK, and I think rightly so. I haven't looked into the specifics of it, but it is illegal to have a skunk's scent gland removed in the UK, which means you have a ticking time bomb in your house. Now, I think in theory, from what I've read, skunks only spray if they are, genuinely scared or genuinely startled. So if you've got, a good relationship with your pets, that they trust you and stuff like that, they shouldn't just go off. But one, they could, at any time. This is a very distinct possibility. Secondly, we have a 4-year-old who is known for acts of unpredictability. Thirdly, my wife has night terrors. So every once in a while, just infrequent enough that I don't expect it, she will give out kind of blood-curdling screams into the first hour of her sleeping, which is absolutely terrifying for me. And I imagine, were there a skunk, cuddled up on the end of our bed, it would go off. And that adds to the trauma of such events. Not only are you woken up from a sleep, by thinking you're about to be murdered, but if then, the arse creature just goes off, spraying everything in sight, that will not make for a restful night's sleep. I've seen, I don't know if this is over the top or not, but I've seen things that say things like if a skunk goes fully off, fully loaded scent gland, you can in some cases smell that like miles away because it is just so horrendously smelling. The notion of that going off in the house is bad, but it going off on stuff as well, that would be so bad. Staying on top of the washing is hard enough as it is, with a pair of us being busy and a 4-year-old, but having to constantly be washing all soft furnishings and everything else because a skunk has gone off on them. So yeah, cute as they are, not getting a skunk, and I think for the time being not getting another pet. We will see what happens in the future, but if it is something, it will be a skunk. Anyway, bit of a tangent there, but yes, ferrets are cute. But it was a really nice day out, and it was about 22 degrees, but with a nice breeze as well, so it was just right, I would say. I think the breeze was necessary, otherwise it'd be a little bit unpleasant. I know there's plenty of people out there who are used to way hotter temperatures, but we're not used to it. What else? Well, I did not see the Northern Lights. So that happened, or didn't happen, rather. So what happened was, let's wind back. So for those who don't know, or those who are watching this video many moons after the event, we had a freak electromagnetic, solar occurrence in the UK and kind of everywhere as well, where the Northern Lights were visible way further south than they would normally be visible. And this was at its peak on Friday night, in some places Shought on Saturday. I think in some places, like maybe in Scotland, I think you even saw it on Sunday night as well. So I saw something about this on Friday during the day. And I always take these headlines with a pinch of salt. It's like when you see a headline that says, Britain is about to be hit by record amounts of snow in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be another beast from the east. You go, yeah, no it's not. No it's not. There might not even be any snow at all. So when I saw, Northern Lights going to be visible, I'm like, maybe, if you're on top of a hill or something, you might see them. So I took it with a pinch of salt and then kind of forgot about it. And then on Friday, I actually got my act together and did a gaming stream. I did a retro gaming stream when we were playing Beyond Oasis and played the first half of that, which was very, very enjoyable. I had a good time doing that. But then I finished about 10 past 12, thereabouts, just after midnight. And I thought, well, I'll just glance at my phone, see what's going on in the world. And then I see these photos. And I see these photos all over Twitter. Look at the Northern Lights, and I see some people who I know like living like Kent and stuff like that, which is not too far from me, really. I see, oh wow, these look good. And then on Facebook, so there is a local community group for kind of the area I live in, normally for bits and bobs of this parcel got delivered and it's not for us, so don't know who it's from, local buying and selling and stuff like that. And I saw on this, people saying they looked out of their window, so literally just got a couple of houses down from me, they looked out of their window and saw the Northern Lights, and not a little bit, but like magnificent photos. So I was like, oh my god, okay. Now this was admittedly about 30 minutes before, so I'm saying it's about 10 past 12. These are coming in at like 12:40, like 11:40, so about half an hour before. So I stick some shoes on, grab some keys, stick my head out the door. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I thought, well, maybe it's light pollution. So I went down a little bit further from where we live, just to get away from some of the street lights, closer to like the kind of the main roads, which aren't particularly well lit because we're near a big A road. Nothing. Looking in all directions, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It turns out it looks like in that half hour, just clouds just came in. No Northern Lights for me. Yeah, so that's annoying. I mean, I will admit that I was fully prepared. My wife was asleep by then, little one was well asleep by then. So if I had seen something, I would have woken people up. It wouldn't have just been me in the morning going, oh, while you were fast asleep, I saw the Northern Lights. No, I was actually going to be a decent human being and, say this, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And then the forecast was looking pretty good for Saturday, and then you got closer to it, you reckon, between about 10 and 1, won't be as good, but it'll be a good sight. And then it was just like, no, clouds are coming in, it's not as strong as we thought, and nothing, absolutely nothing. Which is there were many times we missed the Northern Lights when we lived in Scotland. Like, there were a great deal of times, but there was never any warning on those. Like, you'd check BBC News or something the next day, and it would say, magnificent shots of the Northern Lights over, Edinburgh and over Midlothian and over Falkirk. And I'm like, I was asleep. It would have been nice to know about this. And I do have an app on my phone that tells you about stuff, but it doesn't generally give really early warning of it. It just tells you, look, there is a spike now, which is fine if it's like 9 in the evening and, it's dark, but you're still very much awake. It's less good if you get that at 1 in the morning. So we missed out on the Northern Lights a few times there and missed out on these magnificent ones. We did go, and I can't remember if I've spoken about this on stream before. A few years ago, before the pandemic, we went to Iceland for a few days. Now that was planned. I mean, that was planned because at the time, so my father-in-law had just had heart surgery, and he was absolutely adamant he was not coming through this heart surgery, despite everything the doctors said. It's his routine, that you have these, it's incredibly low risk. He was adamant that he was not coming out of this, and he's always wanted to see the Northern Lights. So he said, look, when you make it through this, and you realise how silly you've been about all this, we'll take you to see the Northern Lights. And sure enough, he made it through it, and we ended up going that next half term, whenever it was. But it was a very spur of the moment trip, and we couldn't go for that long because my wife's a teacher, so we had to try and get in that half term. And also, I think in terms of time, I'd had to double check this, but I think it was maybe the year after. Yeah, I think it was the year after we'd had our honeymoon, our severely delayed honeymoon trip to Florida. So we were not particularly well off at the time. It was before our little one was born, and actually it turns out that my wife was pregnant at the time we were going, but we didn't know that yet. But yeah, so we couldn't go for that long. We just this kind of spontaneous trip to Iceland, which was good. I mean, it is a beautiful country. I would love to go back again. We just planned it really badly because it was kind of a trip. And I'm not going to put all of this on my father-in-law, but I'm going to put most of it on him. Because we were doing this trip kind of as a gift for him, We're going to take you, and hopefully we'll see the Northern Lights. But also because he, like we were, big Game of Thrones fans, we're like, we can go and see the stuff where they did like the Wall and stuff like that. And he loves Vikings, we see this Viking stuff. And he kind of planned this itinerary of we're going to drive from here to here to here to here. And we just did so much driving during those days. And we saw some beautiful things, like the photos and videos we have of like Skogafoss waterfall with a rainbow across it, magnificent. And it was a really good holiday. But it was badly planned in terms of the amount of driving we were doing. So, first 2 nights, nothing at all. And the third night, we were shattered. We were so tired, and we were flying home the next day. And the plan was we were going to do Reykjavik, and then fly that evening. And we were so tired, and like, no, we just need to get some sleep. And then the next morning, in fact, I think it was when we were giving the rental car back, the lady on the desk said, Did you see the Northern Lights last night? They were everywhere. I'm like, no. We stayed up all the other nights and nothing because of cloud. And then the night we were so tired, we didn't look out. And we were so tired and we didn't see them. So we've missed the Northern Lights so many times. I say like 3 times, 4 times. But I think the Iceland one and the one at the weekend, it was like, we knew it could happen and it just didn't work out. Okay, oh well. I am very pleased people got to see it. It seems to be a truly magical phenomenon, and I hope at some point I will get to see them. Our plan is, after Iceland, because we did very much enjoy Iceland, but it is very expensive there. And the kind of driving practicalities of what you can see and the like. We thought, well, we want to do something similar again, but maybe not Iceland again. Apparently, the best place to see the Northern Lights in Norway is Tromsø, which I think you can fly into, but BA don't fly into them, which means we can't use like air miles and stuff like that. So that is an option, but if we go something like that again, I think we would want to take my father-in-law again, and he doesn't fly well anymore. He's many years older. He's iller, so I don't think he'd manage. I mean, he would manage flying, but I don't think he'd want to do it. So what we're looking at is we've been talking about maybe doing a cruise at some point, but we'd have to get them for a really good price because cruises are bloody expensive. They really are. I know they're all inclusive and all of that, but it is a hell of a lot of money. And while we are coming to the end of nursery and the financial outlay that nursery is when our little one starts primary school, we're not exactly flush with cash here. So it would be very nice to do a Norway Scandinavian cruise, going up the east coast of England, probably via a bit of Scotland, and then go across to Sweden and Norway. And I understand a lot of those cruises, they actually, sorry, I've got an itchy eye. I think a lot of those cruises do get like Northern Lights guarantees. Like if you're on a 7-day cruise or something like that, and they say if you don't see the Northern Lights on at least one of those nights, then you get like another cruise or something like that. And because it's so pretty much guaranteed, you are sailing through the peak Northern Lights area for 7 nights. I think you just have to be wary because I imagine that's caveated with, essentially, if the Northern Lights go over the cruise ship, we don't have to do the thing. So it doesn't matter if you're asleep. You actually have to be awake to see the things. But it would be really nice to do something like that. And then we can see various bits of Norway, and it takes out the flying issue for my father-in-law. So that would be nice. I don't know when we'll do it. But it would be really, really good to do that. But someday we shall see the Northern Lights, and it would be wonderful if my father-in-law could as well, because he's really wanted to see them for so long. And we're still gutted we didn't see them in Iceland when we took it in there. Like 90% of the reason for going was to see the Northern Lights, but he had a wonderful time as well. So I don't think he's massively disappointed about it. But it'd be really good to go. Really good to go again. Yeah, so that was the Northern Lights that didn't happen or happened to everyone else. I mean, I will say over the last couple of days, I've spoken to an awful lot of people. And I've been on set, watching several streams where people have started with, did you see the Northern Lights? No, I was asleep. So it wasn't just me. It was that feel of when you check social media, like literally everyone else in the whole world saw this except me. Oh dear. So what else? Let's. I'm looking at my list of stuff I was going to talk about. Let's jump to the thing that I really do need to talk about today, which is Short Thorts stuff. So, Short Thorts, for those who don't know, and for those who do know, I apologise, I keep banging on about this, is my short form interview show that I've been putting together over the last month or so. I've been playing with the idea for so long, I actually got around to doing it. So they are 10 to 15 minute short interviews with people in the tabletop role-playing game and wider gaming space. It's 10 questions, mostly silly, just to try and break the mold of what interview shows are. It's inspired by, but it will not be anywhere near as good as, the kind of inside the actor's studio questionnaire and the Stephen Colbert's Colbert questionnaire. Throwing some silly questions out there to see what kind of answers we get. So I've been working on that an awful lot. I've not done nearly as much writing as I would have liked in the last couple of weeks because what I've essentially been doing is trying to get ahead of all this so that when I release the first episode, which is this Friday, that I've got a bit of a backlog so that actually if I want to take some evenings off and do some other stuff, or just relax. I'm not going, oh my god, I have to edit this episode because it goes out imminently. So the first episode is going out this Friday at 5 p.m. British Standard Time. British Summer Time, rather. British Standard Time's another thing. BST, British Summer Time. And that's my interview with B. Dave Walters. So that one is edited and all ready to go. It's going to be fortnightly. So 2 weeks later, we'll come out episode 2, which is the interview with Erin Angelini. And then we'll go out, every fortnight thereafter. So I've got 2 episodes completely edited, ready to go, including shorts. The third episode I'm editing, which is actually going to be the 4th episode that goes out, I'm almost done editing. So I'm really pleased with that. So by the time we hit this Friday, I think I'll have 3 episodes in the bag, which I'm happy with. That's really what I wanted. So that I've then got a bit of slack for me to stay on top of it, but not feeling that I constantly have to be editing this stuff. So I'm really pleased with how this is looking. I hope it gets a good response. The 2 finished episodes so far, I think, they're interesting, they're funny, and I hope you enjoy them. And they are, as I said, of a bite-sized length, so that you can watch them over breakfast, or while you're eating a sandwich at lunch or something, rather than you've been there. Okay, these things come out, but it's a whole hour long. I don't have an hour to watch a thing. I'm hoping that the bite-sized nature of them will make them very enjoyable and more convenient to watch. And I would plead that when it does come out, please retweet, promote, share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. All that stuff I don't normally say. I really want a good push on this one because I'm very pleased with what we've got here. So I have a little treat for you here. I'm going to, these are not up on YouTube yet. I'm going to share with you 2 little snippets of these, which are actually the 2 shorts for the B. Dave Walters episode. I'm just going to stop the music. So these, or one of them I'll put out at the same time the episode goes live, and then I'll probably put one out a week later just to kind of keep a bit of momentum going. But I'll share these with you. So these are edited versions of 2 of the questions. It's not the full length of the answer that you get on the full show, because for shorts they really need to be edited down to 60 seconds. So the editing's a bit faster than in the main episode itself. And I do apologise. This first interview I recorded, my camera quality was just not as good. I don't know why. I tweaked a couple of things afterwards, but I'm just a little bit fuzzier than I would like. The other ones look way better. But let's do these, and hopefully you can hear it. So I'm going to turn the desktop audio up a bit. So we'll chuck me down to the bottom left. So this is question 4, an edited version of question 4 of my Short Thoughts interview with B. Dave Walters. Let's make that a bit bigger for you. There we go. Or it could just mess around and just not do something. Come on, let's do this. Doesn't want to play. Why does it not want to play? Well, this is brilliant. It worked before I did it. Adverts. I have adverts that are going to start in a second, but yet it's not that. Well, let's snooze the ads for 5 minutes. Why does it not want to play? Is it because I'm streaming at the same time? Okay, right. Let us do the. Let's just close those and try again. Technology, why do you hate me so? Let's see what happens. So if I reopen these, I did kind of pre-open them before the. There we go. Right. I don't know why that didn't work before, but let's hop back on this and try this again. So. Right. If you could have a miniature version of a mythological creature as a pet, what would it be?
A little red dragon, an evil little red dragon, this big and hates life and wants to bring ruin to the worlds of men. And I'm always like, Smokey, come on. Did you melt their keys, Smokey?
What would his little hoard be?
Like a pile of pennies.
Just snuggling up in a little pile of pennies.
Have you ever seen that video of it was a ferret and it just had babies and it like pulling the human by the hand over to see the babies, but it doesn't want the human to touch the babies? It's like, look at my babies, and it goes to pet him and it's like, no. Yeah, I feel like it'd be like that. Like it always like very proudly wants you to see the 76 cents of pennies, but like under no circumstances are you supposed to interact with said pennies. And you can't even just like give it to him straight out. You have to like leave pennies around the house that he can acquire.
Thorts and
Hmm.
takes them back, and now he's got 77.
Hmm.
It's a big day.
And he knows it's 77.
So that was the first one on there. I like that answer. I like that answer. And let's pull up the second one on this one. Go. So this is question 8 of the 10. And I'm going to try and vary these with these shorts so that people who haven't seen the show don't just get the same sample question on this one. Anyway, this is question 8. What's a book that you think everyone should read?
The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a book on Stoic philosophy. He never intended for it to be published. So these were like just little aphorisms that he basically wrote for himself. First chapter is just him listing people that he knew. There's some excellent sneak disses in there. It's like, Gaius Fusicalis and, Septus Maximus. But like every once in a while, it'll be like, thank you, Septus Maximus, for teaching me the kind of man I don't want to be. And you're like, oh, what? There's some digs in there, you know what I mean? That I learned how not to talk to my wife thanks to you, and it's like, oh. But the good stuff starts in chapter 2.
There is something very satisfying with ancient or older texts where they're just as petty as we are. It's like when you get a good bit of Shakespeare, it's like, oh, wow, that's a your mum joke.
Exactly. You're like, oh, we haven't changed. Right. Got it. Perfect.
And there we go. So those are 2 little snippets of the first episode of Short Thoughts. So I'm really pleased with how this looks. It was one of those that when I first came up with the idea of it, I thought, well, I want to do something, and I was brainstorming some questions that might work. And I've shared works in progress versions on previous streams, and I had an idea of what it might look like. But it wasn't until I actually got to doing all the bits and pieces of it and started to see it coming together that I really this concrete idea of what it's going to be like. Even when I was commissioning the artwork from Jenny at Sleepiest Designs, I said something like this, and then I saw the final overlays. I love that, really, really good. And then did that first interview with B-Dave, which was just brilliant. And then editing it together, and I learned so much editing that first episode, to the degree that I think at some point, probably in the near future, I'll do a stream or a video about the editing process, because it's one of those where I really had to find my feet with doing it. I played around with Final Cut before. Well, actually, no, a bit more than playing around with it. So essentially, when I got my new Mac, I got Final Cut Pro with it. I had to pay a little bit for it, but it was way cheaper than it could have been. Because I knew I wanted to do some video editing stuff. And before that, I'd only really been doing stuff with like iMovie and the like. But I thought, this is a proper editing package, let's do some proper stuff with it. And I've done a few shorts editings with that. That sentence sounds horrible grammatically, but I think it is technically correct. But stuff for YouTube Shorts and TikTok. Like the Spider-Man video and the Mass Effect video and stuff like that. But so it's a minor bits of it. But this was going to be a much bigger job, because, I had to go through a whole process of, essentially, when you record on Zoom, if you've got it set correctly, you get a recording of the video, you get a recording of all the participants' individual audio streams, which is absolutely vital. You do also get its transcribed captions, which I did consider using as a starter for 10 with the captions, because it is fully captioned, all of this. But I realised I think I just had to go through so much work fixing them that I decided not to use them. Essentially, I'd start from scratch. One, because I don't know how good Zoom's captioning is, its auto captions, especially in terms of accents. Whether it picks up American accents and British accents and stuff like that correctly. And I did also find, this was an odd thing, it didn't really matter, because by this point I decided not to use the auto captioning. But when I looked at the caption file that came out of my interview with Erin Angelini, hers was all in Italian. For some reason, it must have picked up on a setting in... Sorry, I just said her. In their settings, that says that their system is in Italian. And therefore, when they were speaking in English, it was trying to take the English they were saying and transcribe it into something similar in Italian, which, yeah, came out as absolute gobbledygook. So it's a good thing I wasn't relying on them. But also, I think, regardless of the accuracy of the captions, so you'd have to fix them anyway. Once you start chopping and editing it, it would just have gotten really messy. And there probably is a good way of doing it. You can probably load in the auto captions, and then when you edit it, edits the correct bits. But I don't know. It was something I didn't really want to dive into, so I had to do all the captions by myself, which is fine. It was a nice final pass to review it, to go, right, I'm going to listen to the whole thing from start to finish as I do the captions, and I can find bits where it kind of lags, or maybe I could have done it a little bit better, etc., etc. But essentially what I had to do with the raw Zoom stuff is I then have to load it into Final Cut Pro, the video. I then have to remove the audio track from the video, duplicate it, then have those two versions of them cropped to be the correct size for the holes in the overlay, essentially. It doesn't have to be exact because the overlay does go over it, but because actually we're in the overlay, we're further apart than we would be if I just stuck the raw Zoom video behind it. I had to edit it into 2 copies of it, which is handy because then I then take the 2 audio tracks that come out of it and do a pass in Audacity to remove any residual background noise. So Zoom's background noise filter is pretty good. I then reattach the clean versions of the audio to the 2 versions of the video, and then I can start editing. And there's loads of tricks I've learned along the way of how to do the editing well. And still, I would not call myself like a professional editor because I've not done enough of this, and I imagine a professional editor looking at my process would go, oh my god, what the hell are you doing? But I've got a process that works. So it's bits and pieces. Like, I'm trying to avoid. Sometimes you've got to have jump cuts. If you're cutting out a huge bit of text, cutting out a huge bit of the interview, which is just an aside, or we're just trying to cut it down. Because I record for about half an hour and I cut it down to about 10-15 minutes. So if you're removing a big old chunk of time, you've got to have a hard cut, and you just try and make that as nice as you can, for lack of a better, as unjarring as you can. Inevitably, if you've got a jump cut, someone's going to go from like this to like that. Their head is going to move a bit, and that's kind of expected in what we see on YouTube nowadays. What you don't want to have is someone midway through drinking something and then their hand suddenly disappears, or they've got their hand up against their face and then in the next frame they don't. That seems to jar a lot more than just a little shift of the head. So I've got to work around that when doing a jump cut. But a lot of times when I'm editing someone's answer, especially if they haven't seen the questions in advance, because I offer the questions to all my guests in advance, if they've not seen the questions and they're having to think about them a lot more on the fly, there's a lot of dead time where I will remove ums and ahs and just pauses, natural pauses, which if it was just YouTube would probably be fine, but given that I want to turn it into a podcast, assuming the response is good, what I essentially do is I trim just at the start of the pause to the end of the pause, and I generally speed up that time. So I run that bit at about 200%, 300% of the time, which means you get a continuous shot without constant jump cuts. And providing no one's done any massive movements of something during that time. I have had the odd time where someone, in their thinking has gone, something like that. And then when you speed it up, it looks ridiculous because they just go like that. So you clearly can't use that. But most of the time, when they're just kind of pensively thinking, maybe they move their hand or their head just a little bit, you speed it up and it just makes it run a bit quicker. And it works a lot smoother. But then you get times with crosstalk. Now, crosstalk's inevitable in an interview. There are going to be times where, one of you starts to say something and the other one has a little bit extra that they were starting to say and didn't realise they were about to say. Or where my reaction to what someone's saying almost has a little bit of lag to it. So they'll say blah, 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 blah. I'll then go, that's interesting. Hopefully sounding way more interested than I just sounded. And then they'll say the next bit. But because I start talking, and then because of a minor delay or a little bit of lag, then they start talking while I'm still saying the end of my bit. If I just ran it like that, it would be really clunky. It would essentially be, they say something, blah, 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 awkward pause, I then say something, and the second half of what I'm saying is cut off by them starting to talk again, which wouldn't be great. So what I do with that is essentially I move my comment by like a few milliseconds to fill the gap. And what I do for that is I essentially cut it before what I said, speed up that bit a little bit, which moves what I said into the right slot, and then I expand my pause after it so that I get continuous video and audio, so I don't jump at any stage. But what I've said falls into the natural pause, and maybe sometimes I extend their pause a little bit, just so what I can say doesn't overlap with what they're saying, because it makes a better experience. But it's those tricks that I learned doing the first episode that then made editing the second episode a lot faster. And that was a longer interview, so I had to be more brutal with the cuts in that one. And then this third, going out fourth episode that I've been doing has been relatively quick. I only started properly editing that a couple of days ago, and I'm nearly done. I'm literally editing question 9. I'm midway through question 9 at this stage, so I'll probably finish that tonight, maybe. Touch wood again. So all these tricks I'm learning are making this go so much faster than when I edited the first episode. And I think it might be useful to share. If it was podcast only, the editing isn't too bad, because essentially you go, oh great, I've got 2 audio tracks, and it does not matter. If I want to extend a bit, you'll insert silence here. No one notices. But if you're editing something that's got video as well, you can't just add moments of silence, because you need matching audio, you need matching video for it not to jar, that's either when I stretch something a little bit, like if I make that run, like 112% of the time, they won't notice that I'm moving ever so much, a little bit slower, because I'm probably just sitting there and kind of nodding my head at sometimes while they're saying a long thing. There are times where I don't have enough, where actually there's been so much crosstalk, where to pull that apart, and I do want to, if it's a bit I really want to catch, it's a back and forth conversation, which would be fine if you were there, but it's really messy if you're watching it or listening to it, where I've really got to pull it apart. There are times where I've had to take, they've only got maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds of them sitting there quietly while the other person's saying something. And actually, I need 9 seconds, I need 10 seconds of stuff. And if I stretch that to be 300% of the time, it's gonna look awkward, because just the sheer number of frames, it's gonna be obvious that they're going, it'll look really, really jarring. So what I do in those cases, and I've done it a couple of times, essentially is I duplicate that pause, so I've got 3 copies of it, and I reverse the middle one. So essentially they go, do something, move back, and then do it again. And then the start and the end is continuous. It doesn't have a jump cut. Thank you, Mac, for detecting that. So the start and end is continuous. And because all they're doing, whether it's me or whether it's them, is, maybe moving their head ever so slightly, very subtly, not really moving their mouth much, it's not obvious. It's not as ridiculous as if they go, and go back again, because it's just a little bit of a head wobble at a normal sort of pace, and you don't realise it's happening. I've only done that a couple of times, but some points where it's like, that conversation is really good, that little snippet, but we're just talking over each other, and I have to pull it apart slightly artificially to get, they say something, I say something, they say something, I say something, whereas in reality we actually went blah 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 blah, blah over each other. Now we followed it because we were in the conversation, but wouldn't be good for the final product. So anyway, I'm thinking of doing a video on what I have learned so far about editing the first few episodes of Short Thoughts. And I'm really, really pleased with how these are looking. And I'm hoping to keep doing these. I've recorded 4. I've recorded 4. I'm recording another one on this Thursday. I then have one planned in actually a few months' time, where I'm going to be interviewing Devon Rue, which is going to be good. But I think I'll probably record a few more in the interim. But what I really want to do is I want to get the first episode, maybe the second episode, out before I start reaching out to more people. I do have a backlog of people who've expressed interest, which is awesome. But they tend to be people who are people I know a lot better. Whereas I do want to get a couple more. I want to try and get some people who are slightly more famous, and that is nothing about these people. What I want to have is want to have a good mix. Because if I have a mix of guests in terms of, oh, that's a name I know, like B. Dave Walters, but also someone I want to raise the profile and signal boost someone who I know really well, and I know they make really awesome stuff, but actually maybe they're not a household name, for lack of a better term. So I want to have a good mixture of guests of people that a lot of folks in the industry or in the community know, but also some lesser known creators who are working just as hard, if not more so, but they don't have the profile that others do. So I want to do a bit of both. But I want the first couple of episodes out before I try and approach some more big-ish names. Because it'll be really good to not just say, oh, I'm doing a thing. I can go, look, the first and the second episodes are out. So you can see, that I'm actually doing this for real. And that, hopefully you like the result. So there we go. There's a bit of a plan. But I'm really pleased with how this is looking. I can't wait for you to see the first few episodes. It's going to be good. Okie doke, I need to go back and do my day job. So let us start to wrap this up. So next stream is Wednesday. It might be at a slightly different time because of I've got a meeting around lunchtime. But that will be lunch chat with games. I think we're going to play a second game of Munchkin. We did the tutorial last time. We're going to just play it for real this time, which will be good. There may be a gaming stream this week. We shall see. But the big other thing is, as I said, Short Thoughts. That won't be a live stream or a premiere or anything like that. That'll just go live on YouTube, 5 p.m. BST. Short Thoughts episode 1 with B. Dave Walters. I really, really hope you enjoy it. So thank you so much for joining me this lunchtime. If you would like to see more of the stuff I do, obviously you can follow me here. Please, please, please subscribe to me on YouTube, where I'm at DC Bradshaw. We're nearly at 50 followers there, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for those who have followed in advance of the release of Short Thoughts. Other places you can find me on Twitter at DC Bradshaw RPG, and you can find me on Blue Sky at dcbradshaw.com. That is about it. Thank you so much for your time. I cannot see anyone for the rating, which is okay. I didn't put the music back on, but that's okay. I hope you have a very, very enjoyable afternoon. Hope the weather stays nice for you. And I'll talk to you all soon. Okay?